Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Mirror Dungeon solo video. In today's episode, we'll be using one of the newest identities with Yurodivy Honglu. With his introduction comes the brand new mechanic of Tremor Entanglement, allowing multiple different types of Tremor to be fused into one for a single turn. During normal gameplay, this has the effect of supercharging Tremor, letting it easily rival the other statuses in burst potential. Unfortunately, for the purposes of soloing, it doesn't do anything because Yurodivy Honglu only has the single Tremor type of Reverb. This doesn't make it useless though, as Reverb is the best Tremor type, transforming all Tremor bursts into the Sloth version of Sinking. However, despite this, Honglu has a little difficulty actually taking advantage of its power. The reason being, he has absolutely zero Tremor count application whatsoever. He cannot build up a Tremor stack on his own without a lot of Tremor support on his side. In normal gameplay, it's not a big deal. You can just run Yurodivy Ryoshu, Regret Faust, and Ufi Heathcliff, and they will provide more than enough Tremor count. But when soloing, his only source of count is his own ego, Cavernous Wailing, and about 3 different ego gifts, with one of them being the Tier 4 Downpour. Even without a Tremor stack though, he's still absurdly powerful, having a max roll of 19 and 27 with his skill 2 and 3 respectively. Support passives for this run are a little less than standard this time around, with nearly full Tremor support. We have Muller Otis giving extra Tremor count, ensuring our max rolls are very consistent, Ufi Heathcliff and Regret Faust for extra clash power, and Muller Yi Song for defense down when Tremor bursting. For our starting ego gifts, we pick Oscillating Bracelet and Sour Liquor Aroma, picking the Forgotten as our first floor. The boss of this floor is nothing to really write home about. The only enemy doing fatal damage to us is the General, and his rolls are so low we don't have to worry about taking too much damage. With Honglu's absurdly high rolls, even though the enemies do resist pierce damage, 2 skill 2s are more than enough to kill each and every one of them.
직접 사도하죠. 메이에 거슬지 말고 편하게 가자고요. 편하게 가자고요. 메이에 거스르지 말고 되죠. 편하게 방금의 일격은 매우 좋았습니다. 제가 만약 도시에서 야구 선수가 되어 홈런을 날렸더라면 이런 기분이지 않았을까 싶군요.
We take Greycoat as our reward and enter into Hell's Chicken for the next floor. Here we buy Lithograph, Painkillers, Bell of Truth, as well as an extra skill 3 before finding Rusty Commemorative Coin and heading in to face Papa Bongi. He is a little scary because we are weak to blunt damage, and with his really high damage output we can easily be staggered if we're not careful. Unfortunately, even if we were the most careful person in the world, being staggered is unavoidable. Thanks to Commemorative Coin though, we are able to stagger most of the Bongis, as well as allowing us to survive the turn. As soon as we've survived the stagger, it signals that the fight is won. Our absurdly high rolls guarantees we can beat virtually any attack, allowing us to take out the small Bongis while clashing with Papa himself. Of course, he can't stand up to our onslaught and falls shortly after. We take Green Spirit as our reward and head into Piercers and Penetrators for the next floor. Here we say goodbye to Commemorative Coin, using it to fuse Downpour, ensuring that now our Tremor stack will basically never die. The boss for this floor is the Alleyway Watchdog. Having a few blunt skills mean he has a chance to do something, but a single use of Cavernous Wailing turns Downpour into a constant source of passive damage. Even though we get staggered, painkillers allows us to survive, and with Downpour slowly whittling down the watchdog, we can stagger him the turn we recover, gaining back all of our health and doing an absurd amount of damage with Tremor Reverb. We take Melted Spring as our reward and get back Rusty Commemorative Coin as a bonus. The next floor we choose Insignificant Envy, where we buy Venomous Skin and find Melted Eyeball, before experiencing a severe skill issue in the form of the Dead Rabbits. I say skill issue because this was simultaneously the hardest fight and easiest once I realized my mistake. During this run, I have not yet acquired any ego resource gift, meaning I cannot use any egos reliably. With Honglu's base ego being weak to both Envy and Wrath damage, meant these guys were designed to kill Honglu. Having fought another group of them in the previous node, I was also at very low health. Not even painkillers was enough to save me. I thought that I had to get incredibly lucky in order to make it out of this fight, but after a few dozen or so resets, I finally remembered that we had picked up Greycoat on the first floor, and despite not being able to change our resistances, a single use of the base ego healed our health back to full, allowing us to finally survive and win the fight near instantly.
제 지시를 정확하게 직접 타도하죠. 편하게 가자고요.
뭐든지 하나씩 줄여가면서
직접 타도하죠. 방금의 일격은 매우 좋았습니다. 제가 만약 도시에서 야구 선수가 되어 홈런을 날렸더라면 직접 타도하죠. 이런 것도 되죠. 편하게 가자고요.
승객이 딱콩 한 방 먹였어.
Once out of that ordeal, we head into the boss against the Shock Centipede. Honglu's crazy high rolls shine through once again, proving his skill 3 is more than capable of clashing with attacks that for other characters, only egos would be capable of beating. There's not really a whole lot to talk about with this fight. Downpour plus Bill of Truth plus Tremor Reverb equals instant death to any character without a million HP. We don't even need to worry about beating the clashes once we take down the Centipede's HP, as, like I've previously mentioned, Honglu's rolls go crazy. We take Nixie Divergence as our reward and head into Time-Killing Time for the final floor. Despite the fact I've yet to actually play the event, and this is my first interaction with any of the enemies from it. We buy Mirror Tactile Synthesia, while also finding Warning Notice and Chalice of Trickle Down before heading into the final boss against the Time Ripper. Again, this was literally the first time I've ever seen this guy, so I had absolutely no idea what to expect going into this. Now though, after playing against him, I can honestly say this is probably one of my favorite fights in the entire game, especially from a solo perspective. For the first turn, he uses a weak unclashable skill, and having 3 minions allows you to focus them down instead. The second turn is a bit more tricky, with him using 2 powerful attacks. You have to clash with them, preferably with at least 1 ego, so you can also hit his minions. At that point, they'll hopefully be destroyed or at least staggered, so you can focus on the Time Ripper himself, forcing him into Phase 2.
아마 그 공격이 약점이었겠죠? 늦으면 리피랑 먼저
직접 타도하죠. 적극한 강압이었어.
This phase is pretty interesting. He gains 5 different parts, making status effects a lot less useful, unless of course you have something like Downpour that applies it to everything. Like any solo encounter though, the more skill slots we gain, the easier it becomes as we can clash with everything. Soloing this guy is even more useful than normal because it completely ignores his main gimmick. Speed literally doesn't matter in solo focus encounters. He could literally have infinite speed and it wouldn't make a difference. We can take out the rest of his HP by simply using a couple of skill 3s, which that combined with Downpour is more than enough to nuke his health, finishing the fight.
승객이 딱콩 한 방 먹였어. 쨍그랑 고의가 조각났어. 계속해도 돼. 땅이 떨리고 있어.
직접 타도하자. 약점을 잘 찌른 것 같다. 편하게 가자고요. 데이에 맞서는 자들을 확실하게 굴복시켰죠. 그럼 다음 타겟을 설정해 볼까요?
And that's how I soloed Mirror Dungeon 4 hard with only Yurodivy Honglu. A staple for Tremor teams to be sure, and even if he wasn't, his rolls are certainly high enough for him to be a really good unit. His only real problem is his lack of Tremor count, but that's easily remedied by simply using more than one identity. Anyway, like and subscribe to not miss next time where we'll be using this strange fellow. Goodbye.